Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about Ssangsu Geombup 7, Part 3. Same but different spiel. I'm in general going to phase these out as I keep producing these because you kind of get the idea after a while. You will notice I am, however, wearing a Federation uniform. Keep in mind, however, that although I am wearing a Federation uniform and I might start using it a little bit more in the future, just keep in mind, like, these videos are primarily used to show my ideas in this style. So yes, I'm still paying homage to the style that I've been training for in 20 years, but I also want to be able to express my own ideas within that sphere. So keep that in mind as we keep going. Yeah. Yeah. So, the very first move is one that I can never stretch enough in order to be able to get in the stance well enough. But it is our Bokose, right? So that is our crouching tiger stance as opposed to our normal Bomse, right? Which is our back stance essentially. Our Bokose is going all the way down. Now, full disclosure, I'm bad at this, right? I am not a particularly flexible person. Like, things on this center line, I'm fine with. Whenever I try to do any splits or anything like that, it's not pretty. So hopefully you still get like the idea of maybe what's going on. If you do want to see someone who can do this very, very well, essentially look at, I think most folk from like within the Federation who produce content like from Korea are usually pretty good with that. So if you want to see like this well done in the way that they usually do it, take a look. However, you're here, right? So the very first thing you might wonder is why, right? Now, 7 is one of my most favorite low rank forms, right? So the idea is, I won't say low rank, that was condescending. So it is a fundamental form. It is one of the first 8 forms that you learn. This combination took me a while to kind of figure out an interpretation that made me happy. But the general idea being, someone's striking overhead, trying to stab me, whatever's going on, I've deflected it, catching on my invisible guard, right? Catching it there, now I'm able to slide in with that thrust. And we talked about last time with 7 is my sword's in there, a short range cut. This is both going to get my sword out of their body as well as into someone else's, right? So from here, we're going to turn, kachiball. So the idea is, again, forgive my terrible stance, that person has been cut, right? Their momentum is going towards me. I don't like momentum coming towards me, especially when they have no way of stopping it, right? So I'm going to get out of the way. Now, a Hema practitioner would just be like, hanging parry, get out of the way. But we're going to do a hanging parry in something a little bit more grandiose, right? So with a lot of Asian martial arts especially, the stances are meant to develop something long-term. Like, they're not necessarily meant to be used in combat as they are. They are a training tool in order to get better. So if you can get into the Bokuse, which I swear I'll try to get into soon, instead of doing that, you would instead just do a hanging parry and then with that counter a little bit later. So, but the idea is, drum roll, we've done our kachiball. I see them coming towards me. I'm like, oh my gumdo. I'm going to move out of the way. As I do so, this is just a hang parry, making sure they don't fall on me. And if they do, they just cut themselves even more. But you'll get down. I should be there. You should be even lower than that, right? But I'm here. I'm going to move my right foot over to get it more stable. Getting ready for the uppercut. I'm going to use that hip shift into an uppercut, into a short stance, to cut, using the back of the sword as a cover, and then as I'm stepping backwards, I'm going to use a cut as a clear, and I'm just going to set back, defense. Most of that have my back to you guys, so let's do it another way, right? So theoretically, I have stabbed. I hope this is a different direction. I am going to cut. I'm getting out of the way with hang parry, stepping up a little bit, cutting, potentially cutting the person here, or just making sure you're good. These can all just be clear shots and not necessarily striking someone. Just making sure like I'm good. 1, back of the sword. 2, normal sword. Clearing it back into a defense. So I like that combination. Now if you reinterpret it as a hang parry like in the front stance or long stance, I think that's a really nice adaptation of it. We're kind of just getting out of the way, counter, cut, and back. I personally like that, but generally speaking, I like the use of, again, the back of the sword a lot more, to use it as a counter, and then using the actual live blade, part of the blade as a clear. Again, could you actually be blocking, cutting, and then getting out of their way? Sure, but I just find more likely that you're throwing a cut out there just to get your space, because you're going to be going really a lot more one-on-one in the very next move. So without further ado, let's just keep going. The next combination is something that I thought was unique to Gumdo because it's so it's so there. However, apparently this is something that's also done in some other Japanese styles as well. 3 guesses why maybe that is, but this combination is a little bit on the weird side, right? So the idea is we slide in, so we're out of distance, slide in, and as my back foot hits that mark, so once it gets to my Chiansei position mark, once I hit there, I'm going to slide in into our back stance X block, right? So I'm going to break it down the way that's usually broken down. I'll mention the 2 different interpretations of what this is doing. Let's get started, right? So you're here, you're up. What we like to do is think about turning towards your right shoulder as my sword goes also towards the, towards the left, right? So we're here. As I look over my right shoulder, sword moves over. I'm going to pop it up as I step through, uppercut. And from there, going to continue the momentum. Notice my foot is going to shift into a yoke, so to say, here. As I move from here into a, again, a hang parry or 11 block. Try it from the side as well. So, again, sliding in. As the back foot hits the mark, X block. As I look over my right shoulder, my sword also goes towards that shoulder. Here, pop up, step, uppercut. Shift into a yoke, so to say, hanging parry. 2 interpretations. One of them I personally like more, the other not so much. One of them, actually the one that I do like, is actually the one that was taught by me, taught to me by my first instructor, right? But both of them are coming from an attack of some sort. So the most recent version is coming from a diagonal cut this way, right? And if you do that, you're intercepting the block. It's a little bit on the lower side in terms of here. You're maintaining that contact. As you move through, you pop that sword up, and you're going to uppercut their guts, and you're going to check to your side, making sure you're good. I personally don't like the diagonal because it's very easy for that diagonal to just turn into a powerful side bind, right? Versus if they give you a center cut, and you're here, and you maintain that momentum, they're actually more extended. Their gut is more open for us to do that uppercut, as opposed to a diagonal cut. It's very easy to, again, you just notice that this hand fills in, very easy to cover, right? So the idea is you're maintaining that bind as you move around, pop it up, uppercut, and cover. Now, obviously this begs the question, how likely is this to work? Right? So one thing that this combination actually has in its favor is its historical, or something that history would let this happen a little bit. That was going to be a terrible sentence. History helps this one, right? Because you'll be using sharps against each other, and 2 sharps are likely to kind of, quote unquote, stick together. So instead of it sliding off, I do this really weird jumpy thing, right? I would maintain that contact until I pop it up and then try to cut, right? So theoretically, the fact that historically we'll be using sharps is a little bit better. Now, there are some aspects to it that I don't like turning it back to your opponent, spinning with the sword. Doing this fast and fluidly can help, but just know that this is something that is very much a cool thing, not necessarily something that you would be necessarily a go-to. So from this position, I'm going to let go of my left hand. It's going to come towards my right ear as I just step through into a neutral stance, a stance I can do, right? A neutral stance as we just cut open this way. Now notice from the footage earlier, I did my key up on that uppercut, right? Meaning, again, the last key up is usually associated with the last dispatch move. That means this is just checking, make sure I'm good. Either this could be just getting the blood off, or it could just be meditation or whatever I need to do. Looking this way, you're going to use a focus, and then you're going to move off to the side. Once again, so from here, you're going to focus, and then off to the side. Notice the tip is still kind of mostly covering over my head. My sword is off to the side. We're going to do, and again, I have videos on this elsewhere as well, but the current one is you go through to this position and keep going and down. So you're back into normal grip. So again, it's just 1, 2, 3, and back. Historically, so the way I learned it, 1, 2, 3, again, Vulcan grip, and then you let it drop this way. So again, in the other videos I've mentioned this in the past, this is very different between the focuses of what you're trying to do. One of them is just speed. Speed, dexterity, again, showing off your ability there. The other is showing off your stopping power, right? Your control of something, right? So very, very different things to keep in mind. So I believe the reason why this was changed. So from my understanding, which could be wrong, yeah, it was originally this one, but people so consistently dropped it, especially when you start testing with the Jingum, which is an actual sharp sword, that got a little hairy. So they're like, okay, just keep it going, right? Just so it's a little bit safer for us to keep going, right? So that's my guess as to why that was changed. But let me show you one last slight difference that we've seen over the years and close out. Same vein as what we did with Ssangsu Geombup 4. Ssangsu Geombup 4, we had our happy little crosscut. Someone's coming over there. I originally learned tip to tail or tip to solar plexus, but again, whatever. From here, we used to do a long thrust. Same thing with this one. We're here originally, stab, and then pull out of the body, right? So the original interpretation, from my interpretation, was you stabbed. This is pulling either your sword out or guiding them if they're still attached that way, and then that is letting them actually go off, and then you put the sword away. So we've gotten rid of that thrust, right? Our final dispatch move is that uppercut. So this is most likely just like the very end of 6, just going to be like, okay, just making sure I see everything. And if I want to, I can take a look and chuck on. So this is just the final surveying of the area around us, just to make sure we're good. So when we do put our sword away, we feel pretty safe. But that is the end of 7. I was originally intending on breaking that in half. So we had actually a part 3 and a 4 for this one. But I kind of want to do it with just a part 3 to make things a little easier. If I'm going into any more detail, I can do just another video, right? But so that is the end of 7, right? So we are 7/8 of the way through all the curriculum, or at least all the forms that you would need for black belt, right? So again, this is primarily meant to be just a referral as opposed to, or a reference, not a referral. This should be a reference for things that you've already been learning with your instructor. Just maybe a little bit of spice added to it, right? Because I like my spice. But from here, as usual, make sure you stay safe, stay humble, and keep training.